It's 11 a.m. in London, 1 p.m. in Damascus. I'm Zain Verjee. You're watching CNN, and this is World One. Syria's divided opposition figures say that they have put their differences aside to form a united coalition. The Syrian National Council, that's the main opposition group, got together with other anti-government factions in Doha, Qatar. Some coming out of Syria say that the fighting between government and rebel forces has escalated. CNN's Arwa Damon joins us now live from Beirut with more on that. Arwa?
And Zain, we do have to warn our viewers that the images they're going to be seeing in this upcoming report are incredibly disturbing.
National correspondent Arwa Damon reporting. Thanks, Arwa. Israeli aircraft attacked targets in Gaza overnight. The Israeli military said it hit a weapons storage facility and a tunnel used by insurgents. It says that more than 110 rockets fired by Palestinian militants have hit Israel since Saturday, triggering a strong military response. As CNN's Sarah Seidner reports, it's a seemingly endless cycle of violence.
The broken bodies of Israeli soldiers after an anti-tank missile slams into their Jeep. The military says the Jeep was on the Israeli side of the Gaza border.
You're watching World One live from London. Long seen as the world's gold standard for journalism, today the BBC is in total turmoil as executives fall on their swords over a wrong report linking a British politician to a child abuse scandal. Just a short while ago, the British broadcaster announced that its director of news and her deputy are stepping aside while an internal review is conducted. Two scandals have sent a shudder through one of the world's oldest and most respected news organizations. Just a short while ago, CNN's Dan Rivers spoke to MP John Whittingdale. He joins us now from Westminster. First of all, Dan, is this damage control going to help?
Well, I mean, I think there are going to be more heads that will have to roll inevitably. We're awaiting today the publication of an internal report into exactly what went wrong.
Well, let's see what British newspapers are saying about all of this. The Guardian's headline is this: after Entwistle. The editorial says, yes, this is a genuine crisis for the BBC. It is difficult to excuse some of its recent mistakes of journalism and management, but it is still a trusted, reliable and internationally respected organization which will survive and, under the right leadership, thrive. Then there's this headline in The Independent. It says, the answer for the BBC is reform, not a witch hunt. This editorial says, what the corporation does not need in the difficult months ahead is to become entirely rudderless, a plaything of its enemies. Finally, this is the Daily Telegraph's headline: smearing an innocent man's name is the real tragedy here. It's a guest editorial by Boris Johnson that adds, in all this nauseating navel gazing and narcissism, there seems to be no one from Lord Patton downward who appears to be remotely interested in the person the BBC has injured. We're learning more about the sex scandal that brought down the head of the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency. An FBI whistleblower told a congressional leader about David Petraeus' extramarital affair with his biographer, Paula Broadwell. In turn, House Majority Leader Eric Cantor told the FBI that the agency was already looking into the scandal. Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr joins us now live with more on this. Barbara, who knew what and when?
Well, this is now the question, Zain, and it's the question that Congress wants some answers to.
And Barbara Starr reporting to us from the Pentagon and clarifying a few things for us too. Thank you so much, Barbara. You're watching World One live from London. Are still more heads about to roll at Britain's revered and troubled broadcaster? Writer and media consultant Steve Hewlett joins us now live via Skype from Belfast in Northern Ireland. What a mess. I mean, how badly damaged is the BBC?
Well, look, I mean, the BBC's been through pretty serious crises before, and I dare say it will recover.
And what about the victims of abuse here? I mean, you know, they may have named the wrong man, but the victims are still there, and in both the cases, in fact, that you mentioned. What about them?
Well, look, I'm sorry, there's a phone going off in my hotel room.
We'll leave it there. I'll let you return that call. Thanks so much for joining us from Belfast in Northern Ireland. Well, Greece has narrowly avoided bankruptcy after lawmakers approved the budget filled with tax hikes and spending cuts. In a public show of anger and frustration at those austerity measures, thousands of protesters gathered outside Parliament before Sunday's vote. It brings Greece closer to the next international bailout payment. Without it, the country would have run out of money on Friday. Journalist Elinda Labroupolo is following all these developments in Athens. Elinda?
Well, yes, you're quite right. Greece has overcome these two hurdles that it had to in order...
Labroupolo speaking to us from Athens. Thanks so much. After years of economic turmoil, Zimbabwe is hoping to boost its coffers by becoming a world-class tourist destination. But with security still a major concern, there are questions over how the government is going to be able to entice more visitors. CNN's Nema Elbagir spoke with the Zimbabwean tourism minister, Walter Nzembi. He waved off speculation also about the president's health, insisting Robert Mugabe is stronger than ever. Oh, you heard it. Even if Robert Mugabe is 100 years old, he's still going to be presented as a candidate for president. This is World One, live from London. And the Reds did battle in London on Sunday, and the match, well, it didn't disappoint. Here's Amanda Davis with the details. What happened?
No, it didn't. It was really exciting, actually. Chelsea and Liverpool, lots of stuff going on off the field with these teams, but it was actually not bad on the pitch yesterday, and the Chelsea boss, Roberto Di Matteo, was left ruining the missed opportunities after his side's 1-1 draw against Liverpool. Captain Oh, I wish. I was lucky enough to go. I went Monday and Tuesday last week, and it's brilliant.
Who did you watch?
It's a brilliant event. I saw Ferrer against Del Potro, and the first day we were there when Federer was in action, and it's just a brilliant event. It's very un-British with the flashing lights and the heartbeats when the players challenge a call, but it's great. It's a great end to the season.
All right, well, let's try working on getting the finals tonight. You're watching World One live from London. If you're on holiday in Italy, you're going to have to enjoy swimming in the streets, especially if you're in Venice. Let's go over to the International Weather Center and get an update and see just how bad is it. Tom?
Zain, you know, we talk about this at least twice a year in the spring and the fall. They have their Aqua Alta, but why this year? Well, since 1872, the magnitude of this flooding has only happened 6 times. The record goes back 4 years. Pictures tell 1,000 words. Hey, if you're a merchant in the San Marcos Square, what do you sell? The record goes back to just 4 years ago. What we find here is you've got storm after storm that's moving into Italy. They've had it all weekend. When these areas of low pressure push the water from the Adriatic in toward the city of Venice, they flood, and of course with high tide. But they've had one system after another that has been moving into the area. Saturday we had heavy rain, Sunday heavy rain. Look at Pisa at 109 millimeters. So when you talk about this, as it does occur, average high tide, 80 centimeters. At 110, they sound a siren, and it goes off 3 or 4 hours before the flooding begins. It allows the merchants and locals to get their merchandise and things of that nature up a little bit higher. But notice 140 is 90% of the city. They're at 149. They'll be receding soon.
Oh, my goodness.
It's amazing.
Well, anyone planning a romantic holiday there, it's not going to be that great walking the streets, at least just on the streets. Well, you know, before we go, let's take a look at some of these amazing pictures. Let me show you more from Venice, okay? This is St. Mark's Square after the serious flooding that we've just been talking about. Now, just take a look. You can see this tourist here, knee-deep in water. Absolutely not a good way to start a holiday. And look at this, like carrying suitcases on his shoulder, on his back, just trying to wade through. Here's another picture we want to share with you. This is shopkeepers selling wellies just outside here and waiting for anyone to come by. These will probably go pretty quickly. Then this image here, ordering coffee. Now, that's a pretty normal thing for tourists and residents to do here, right? Well, here's the coffee stand and where they're selling it, but if you look below here, you can see that the water has totally seeped through the shop and people are standing there in ankle-deep water. Finally, take a look at this video. This is from iReporter Udaya Masangawira on holiday in Venice, picked a bad time and said, actually, this was supposed to be a marathon. Now, they probably didn't anticipate running in something like this, so they didn't train for it, but they were still out there in the streets running that marathon. You're watching World One live from London. I'm Zain Verjee. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll bring you an update of the news headlines in just a couple of minutes, so stay dry, stay with CNN.